Howdy, folks. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Happy, this is known as the biggest party day of the year, but it won't be this year, obviously, especially in New York State, where certain areas may be going to what they term red zone, which is basically the only thing open will be like restaurants for takeout and supermarkets. Just to say, everybody stay safe and for Thanksgiving, but if you can limit your the amount of people, try to do that. But I think everybody's still going to probably be getting together in some way or another for Thanksgiving. All right, I'll start the pre-show. Go ahead, Russ.
Well, I'm going to do my little tech thing first because I can't even seem to pull up the NFL Hall of Fame, guys. So if you want to do that,
yep,
I'm having trouble. But two things. So Steelers Ravens no longer on Thanksgiving night, going to be on Sunday instead. That's because of COVID. Hopefully it doesn't get extended beyond that. But again, they have a lot of players out. And that's why I said, Mike, big rosters or not, if the wrong players are out, they're going to do this rather than cancel a game first or even push it off 2 weeks because they want some players to play. And apparently they have some really good ones impacted. But here's a good handy-dandy device. So this is a hot item right now. Now, this one works with the iPhone. It works on PCs, and it'll work on Android just for backup if you put it back up on a PC. But what this does is basically, like with your iPhone, if you're getting low on memory, internal storage, and you don't have room on the cloud or a cloud, you plug it in there, it goes right to there. But also, if I want to be at an event and shoot 100 photos, I could shoot them straight onto the card, straight onto this, and it'll never touch my internal memory.
Oh, okay. So it's like an external hard drive, basically.
Yeah, which is great because you know that's the biggest reason you end up getting rid of your phone at some point is because that gets all clogged up, and even though you've put stuff to the cloud and everything, it's just a mess. And so you can get them anywhere between $20 and $40. I got an Android one only for like 10 yesterday on Amazon. This one was like 40 because it's got like a warranty on it. And so I did that simply because that one is doing more devices. That's 100. That was 128 gigs. And the one for $10 was 64 gigs.
Okay.
So
I have to
your pretty stuff.
I have to say, because you mentioned Amazon, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now, I would hate to be a UPS driver, a FedEx person, or somebody who delivers Amazon products. In the next month, they are going to be so destroyed. I mean, they'll make a lot of money, but they would, because everybody is going to be shopping online. It's going to be nuts.
I worked in the old days in retail. I was in the video game business. I did it as a store manager first, and then eventually got to the point where I was a district manager. And that was like through PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, through that time period. And even 3DO, all those. And I have to tell you, if you want to talk about craziness, that's true craziness. It'll still be bad for these drivers, though. And a lot of them are going to have to use their own cars. And yeah, but, it is what it is at this point. We do want to say rest in peace to Diego Maradona.
Yeah.
Even I know who he is and saw him play in a few World Cups. And
I saw a really excellent documentary on him. I think it was on Showtime or HBO, where it went through his career, and he had a lot of drug problems when he was playing. I think with Naples in the.
He still was having health problems about a month ago. BBC reported that.
Now they said he had a heart attack. That's how he died. At least that's how
he died. But he had a clot. So they had to do brain surgery on him, and then they had to keep him in there longer because they had to wean him off of alcohol. So he was getting problems from that. And then I guess when he got out, then he died from a heart attack. The reason I started watching him a little bit was because I kept hearing, hey, this guy is the greatest player since Pele. And since I had seen Pele, I wanted to see this guy. And they were right. He was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, the famous Hand of God play when they played England, which of course, English fans are saying that it was that it touched his hand. So, I mean, I honestly, I love the World Cup because of the drama, but it's, and the US wasn't in it the last time, but I can't even remember what year that was. And I'm sure soccer fans are probably like, you're an idiot. And I probably am when it comes to soccer.
Sorry.
But yeah, he had a fantastic career, but he had a lot of drug problems. All right. The NFL released, now they have 25 names on the semifinalist list.
Right.
Usually
massive, like 25 names. Just think about that.
Usually it goes down when they have the final inductees. They go down to about what, 5 or 6?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to read these off quickly here and say, we'll give thumbs up or down on whether eventually, this year or in the next few years, these guys get in. 4 players are first year of eligibility. Megatron, Calvin Johnson.
Can we just call him Calvin Johnson, please?
Right. Now, I don't think he's going to get in.
I don't either. He was a terrific player, but he just didn't play long enough.
Right.
That's the problem. I don't know if he really amassed enough records.
Right. Charles Woodson.
Really great. I might put Woodson in because he was great on a couple teams. What did he win the Super Bowl with the Raiders?
Raiders, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I would put Woodson in. He was exceptional.
Jared Allen, who played for the Vikings. I mean,
he's a fat guy. That's it. If you put Jared Allen in, you're putting Mark Gastineau in, honestly.
And this is the no-brainer. Peyton Manning will be in.
Yeah, Peyton Manning's in.
Okay, here are names that have been nominated before and that are on the list again. I'll go through. I'll do 2 at a time here.
Right.
Eric Allen and Willie Anderson. I'm assuming Willie Anderson is the receiver from the Rams.
I'm going to say no to both, although Eric Allen sticks in my mind because when I was in the hotel business and I was working it next to the vet, they were playing the Jets one day on a Sunday where I had to work. Mm-hmm. And I was watching the game in the lobby because I didn't have to work the desk. I was a manager. And Eric Allen had like a 97-yard interception return for a touchdown so the Eagles could beat the Jets. And the fan in me doesn't want to see me get in, but he was a great player. But I just think he'll come up short.
Yeah, I don't think either one. I'll go first on these 2. Rondé Barber and Cornelius Bennett. No on Barber, good career, but I don't
definitely no on Barber.
Cornelius Bennett was in, I believe, in 5 Super Bowls. I think he made a Super Bowl with Atlanta after he made the 4 with the Bills. Ned didn't win any of them.
Yeah, but you don't have to win. He was a fourth. I might put Bennett in.
He might make it. The next 2, Tony Baselli and Leroy Butler.
I saw them both play. No.
I think Baselli has an outside chance. He was a dominant left tackle for a pretty decent length of time.
Yeah.
Offensive linemen are guys who sort of sneak in. They have to
You have to put in a certain amount. It's a hard job, and they don't get a lot of press.
Alan Fanica and Rodney Harrison.
Alan Fanica, I would put in, not because he was on the Jets, although he still did pretty great for them and ended up just walking away from the game. But he won big titles with the Steelers. Even with the Jets, he was still a brick wall on the line. And who was it after Fanica?
Rodney Harrison.
Rodney Harrison probably gets in, too. He was another guy that played in multiple Super Bowls and was a big-time player. I think both of them.
Big hitter as a safety. Yeah. Torrey Holt and John Lynch. I'd say no to Torrey Holt, even though he was really good. I think Lynch will get in. He's a GM now in San Francisco.
I had a long interview with Lynch once at an event. And he's a tremendous guy. And actually, it was funny. He told me he wanted to play for the Jets since Herm Edwards had been hired there because, he had played for Herm Edwards before. I think he did become a Jet for 1 year. I think Lynch was. I think he was.
Maybe at the end of the career.
Yeah. But I would put him in because of the legendary hitting, and he really was a guy that you didn't want to be near on the field. Okay. I'm going to look at Lynch because I think he did play for the Jets.
One, I can't believe he's.
No, he never did.
Okay. One. This guy I can't believe is on the list. Clay Matthews Jr. Clay Matthews. This is the Clay Matthews Jr. with the long hair that played for me, right?
Yep.
I didn't think he'd been retired long enough.
Yeah, I guess he is, and I wouldn't put him in. He was good. He wasn't great.
Sam Mills, former New Orleans linebacker.
He was really good, but that's it. He was really good.
I think he also went to Carolina and played good at the end of his career. Richard Seymour, former Patriot and Raider. I
think he comes up just short.
Yeah. Here's a sentimental favorite, although there's a good case against him. Steve Tasker, probably one of the best special teams players in the history of the NFL. The thing is, obviously, how much do you rate special teams as important?
Right. I mean, I'm going to put special teams behind punters, behind field goal kickers.
Yeah, I mean, he was a gunner. He was a return guy, and then at the end of his career, he was a wide receiver. So if somebody does get in special teams, if Ray Guy got in, I think Tasker eventually should get in, but I don't know.
No, but I mean, I'll give you an example. And this guy was probably never a gunner, but if Billy White Shoes Johnson isn't in, Tasker's not getting in.
Right. He was strictly a return guy. Okay, right. Quickly. Fred Taylor, thumbs down.
Down.
Zach Thomas, linebacker, Miami, thumbs down.
Really like the guy? Thumbs down.
Hines Ward, Pittsburgh, wide receiver.
Close. I'm going to say.
I think he's going to get in.
I think you could put him in.
Reggie Wayne.
No.
Yeah, I think he benefits from being Manning's receiver. And again, here's a guy I'm surprised is on the list just because I remember him playing and not playing too long ago. Patrick Willis.
He was really good. I don't think he was good enough.
Yeah, I agree. Darren Woodson.
Darren Woodson's close, but I'm still going to say no.
I agree. And Bryant Young. No. Okay.
But there's still probably 7 that we said should get in. So
yeah. I think there are about 10 on this list that will eventually get in.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's start the show here.
He's asking, why isn't Drew Pearson on the list or not in the Hall of Fame? It's a great question. I actually, Drew Pearson coached me once in a flag football game for a corporation I was working for. He really is a tremendous guy. I interviewed him years later, and he remembered that game. But we all watched Drew Pearson. He was a great receiver. He made tremendous catches in big games in the Super Bowl. I'm with Funky. I don't know why he's not in.
Yeah, that's surprising. I thought he was in. I mean, I think Stallworth and Swan are both in for the Steelers teams. I know that wasn't,
Swan wasn't in for a long time. Did he eventually get in?
I thought he did, but maybe I'm wrong. I thought both of them were in, but yeah, I'll look that up for next show.
Okay.
Hello, Hockey.
You can get back to us after Thanksgiving.
There you go. After I'm sure I'm going to be in a tryptophan coma at about 7:00. Yeah, there's no chance in hell I'm watching Ravens Steelers.
You're not now anyhow. So
why did it get moved?
I said it got moved to Sunday.
Oh, okay. No. Oh, okay.
You don't listen to me.
I'll still be in a coma on Sunday. There you go.
You don't listen to me. Whatever.
Yeah, no, that's out of practice. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Wednesday, November 25th, 2020.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Agello, and it's a month away from Christmas. And this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. All right, we'll start with this news. The latest in the PA NHL negotiation is that the two sides.
Let's call it a squabble at this point.
Yeah, is that the two sides are not talking.
That's why it's a squabble.
Yeah, according to Pierre LeBrun, he reported this morning, the lack of progress over the last 5 days in crafting protocols for the 2021 season would seem to jeopardize the NHL's targeted January 1 puck drop on a hypothetical 60-game regular season. It goes on, and Larry Brooks reports, indeed, a 48-game season beginning the third week of January appears to be the more likely objective, similar to the 1994 5 lockout season that began on July 20th and the 2012-13 lockout year that opened on the 19th. So I don't have a problem with the season starting in the middle of January. The thing is, I think 48 games, somebody was saying on Hockey Central today about the season being an asterisk if it was 48 games. I don't consider the Devils championship in '95 an asterisk, or I think it was the Blackhawks in 2013 who won. I don't consider that an asterisk either, so I don't see why it would be an asterisk if the season is 48 games. So what are your thoughts on, I think it's a staring contest right now.
Yeah, by the way, Funky said Swan and Stallworth are in. I just looked up Swan. Yeah, he didn't get in for a long time, 0-1. So Pearson deserves to get in at this point. If those guys are in, he's a contemporary. Here's what I think of this squabble. I think the players are being very calculated about not talking to the league because they want to show that they're mad. Fine. We, or me at least, didn't think they were going to talk until after Thanksgiving anyhow because they just weren't gonna. What's the point? Mm-hmm. After Thanksgiving, they'll have more discussions. I know people are saying, well, at least this isn't Major League Baseball. Folks, this could turn into what happened with Major League Baseball in a second. Don't think hockey players are that much different when we're talking about shortened seasons and taking away paychecks.
Right, and the thing is, I know that there was apparently an agreement between the PA and the league that they would not prorate salary. Okay, they won't prorate salary, but deferring money and raising escrow is the same as prorating salary.
You're not giving it to me today, so it's the same thing.
Now the thing is, like I mentioned a couple days ago when we were talking about this, if they defer money to a later year where the escrow is 6%, which I think apparently it will be in like years 4, 5, and 6, then they're actually getting more of a percentage of their money than they'd be getting now. So that would be.
I don't think they're going to agree to that, though.
Right, but right now, what the owners are asking for is they're asking for deferment to 26%, and then they're asking for escrow to be raised from 6 to like 9.5 or 10%. I mean, that's like you're killing them at one end, and you're killing.
Yeah, I don't think the owners can get both. Otherwise, it is going to be a huge fight. I think it's literally one or the other. I don't think players will defer that many years because there'll be players that say, in that many years, I'm really going to need the money before then for whatever reason, whatever their financial reason is. There may be some players that are retired by then, which could complicate things. So I think that players aren't going to let that happen. I think they're going to end up fighting over what that percentage is, and maybe they'll settle it somewhere. What was the original agreement?
The original agreement was for this year was 20% escrow and 10% retention.
Right.
And the league came back with basically retention over 20%. I think one of them was 20. The one proposal was 26% retention and 25% escrow.
Yeah, I think it's going to end up being
half their salary, which I think was thrown out there as a sort of if you don't do the other one, which is more reasonable, we're going to really be strict. You're basically getting half of your salary this year. Yeah. And I don't think they'll agree to that. But
I'll be surprised if they go over 10% on the deferment. I think they could go up as high as 25%.
You mean additional to the 10 that they're already deferring?
Yeah, I think it'll go 25 and 10 instead of 20 and 10.
I think that they're going to have to defer more. I think they're going to have to defer more money. It's going to have to be at least.
They don't have to do anything, but also we have to understand they don't have to play either.
Right. I think that's where I don't think it's going to get that far because, like I said, I think there's a desire on both sides to play, but I also think that the players have to realize that they're probably costing themselves more money by delaying.
Here's what you don't want.
Right.
What you don't want, and look, we knew this was going to happen last minute. We talked about it. We're here. What you don't want is both sides to say, let's let the court decide. Let's get an arbitrator in on this because that will take weeks more. And that's the worst thing that could possibly happen. Because
I don't think it'll get that far because this was collectively bargained. You're not going to.
I mean,
I don't think Donald Fear and Bettman are going to take control out of their hands and let a third-party arbitrator.
I guess it depends. I would say I agree with you on that statement, but if it gets ugly, they might pull away and say that because remember, baseball got bad. They didn't talk for 3 weeks, but they can't afford not to talk for 3 weeks here. Otherwise, they'll be playing in February.
Yeah, I mean, I still think ideally, if you notice what LeBron reported and what Larry Brooks reported, I still think there's a chance that it is January 1st if they get it done by, like Eck was talking about yesterday, if they get it done by the end of November, if it bleeds into
which we talked about yesterday. Yep.
Now, one thing
now, Mike, that it gets done by the end of November, though, honestly, because they're not.
That's the next week. That's the next week.
Yeah, they're not going to talk Thanksgiving. They're not going to talk the day after Thanksgiving. Maybe they talk over that weekend.
Right.
But if they don't,
then you're already at the end of November.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing that again they mentioned on Hockey Central this morning was that players, and this sort of goes into the conversation we were having yesterday about players practicing together and COVID spreading in different camps, that players really have to be getting up to speed now, because once an agreement is reached, the NHL may very well say, okay, like say the agreement is reached on December 4th. They may say training camp starts December 7th, that you have to report right away, that they've already told their players.
Right, that's what camp is technically for, Mike. I mean, again, if you have done nothing until now, right, or you have gone to let's say you've gone to the, your local rink where your practice rink is, and now all of a sudden you can't, they might be in a spot where for the next 2 weeks they can't even find a workout place because they're all going to close again.
Right.
That's just the way it is, and that could easily happen. So, I don't think it's the end of the world then. That's just, I think that's just a fact of life.
Funky asks, how big do we think the taxi squads will be? Now, I wrote about
that's going to be negotiated. That's an interesting one. I could see 5 to 7 more players.
Well, this is the thing, and again, like you said, everything is going to be negotiated. If you have to have taxi squads will not be counted against the cap.
Right. That's why I don't think it'll be a large amount.
Right.
But I could see like 5 to 7. I could see them saying like something like only players with ELCs or something like that.
No, I think it'll be the opposite, Russ, because think of it this way. If you have a guy in a one-way contract, you're paying him $700,000 whether he's with the Marlies or with the Leafs.
Right.
Okay. If you have a player on an ELC and he's down with the Marlies, he's making $80,000 US. If he is on the taxi squad, technically he's part of the NHL roster. Now that's something that's got to be negotiated.
Oh, we don't know that, right?
Yeah, if you can have him on the taxi squad and he's making his AHL salary, then yes, you're right. But
it might not even be an AHL salary. You want to know a perfect world? Perfect world is they say, okay, your 5 to 7 guys are part of guys that are on ELCs, and now the 9-game exception that we have all the time, we're going to extend that to 20. And you could play a guy for 20 games and then that would solve the problem.
Yeah, but that's negotiating the basic agreement of the.
I know, but if they make that exception for this year, which owners might be willing to do,
right,
and it does give players a chance to actually play in the NHL and stick, both sides might agree to that, and then it wouldn't cost them a dime more.
But my point on the ELC
contract, right? End of show.
My point on the ELC contract is if those players are considered part of the NHL roster as part of the taxi squad, then they're paying them at least $700,000, maybe $800,000, and
not if they just talked about that other part.
Right, not if they say no, you're part of the taxi squad, but you're technically part of the AHL team.
And I don't even think they'll have to say they're part of the AHL team. You're just on our camp roster. And this is like an extended camp roster, and we can play you in 20 games.
My point on the one-way contract is if, say, and I'll use the Leafs as an example, say Kenny Agostino or Dennis Malgin are part of the taxi squad, you're paying them the same no matter if they're in the American Hockey League or if they're in the NHL. So
right. I'll tell you the problem with that one, though.
Yeah.
The problem with that one, and this is why I'm not saying it's bad, but I favor what I'm talking about more because the AHL is going to have to start up, and you don't want them pulling an extra 8 players away from the AHL roster and then having to fill that with less than players, because then that's going to really hurt the American Hockey League. They're going to complain about that then, the American Hockey League. That would be a big problem.
In the case of the Leafs, they're going to have a lot of extra numbers because they have no ECHL team. So those teams won't complain, but other teams might. And again, I don't know what the solution,
especially the independents who get players from all teams.
I don't know what the solution is going to be for those. They still haven't specified what the solution for those 3 Canadian teams that have U.S. AHL teams, because they're going to have bigger than a 3 or 4 player taxi squad, because they won't be able to call up their players because of 14-day quarantine. And they said they're not going to relocate their teams. So
right. And like the chat room is saying, Mike, fret not. Martin Marincin will be on the roster. You don't have to worry about it one way or the other.
Yeah. Okay.
He's gonna be there, Mike. You know, you want to bet that?
I said to you yesterday, the reason he'll be there is because no matter where he is, he's the same player. He sucks. He's terrible. But they would rather have their young guys developing down in the American Hockey League and playing than having that statue down there, and he can sit and vegetate in the press box rather than actually playing. And if they have to put him in for one game, that they can believe in his consistent mediocrity. So,
Mike, did he swipe the last ice cream from you in the press box? Is this why you have this feeling about him?
No, he just stinks. He's just I've never seen a player in the NHL have a longer career with less ability in my
glass. I mean,
he makes Jeff Finger look like Bobby Orr.
I mean, Tanner Glass didn't have much talent. He lasted. AV used to play him all the time.
Stu Bickle is Gary Roberts.
Stu Bickle.
Okay. As usual with Lou Lamoriello, whenever it comes to, certain situations with players, they just seem to magically clear up.
Yeah. And
the latest of that, the latest chapter in the book on Stefan Robida is Johnny Boychuk, who a press release was made earlier this morning, and I'll read it. After numerous and extensive medical exams, New York Islanders defenseman Johnny Boychuk's career has come to an end due to an eye injury suffered during the 2019-2020 regular season. The most recent injury was the second to the same eye. Okay. Yes, if you see the video that's out there where he gets cut with a skate, a Montreal Canadiens player comes up with the skate and it hits Boychuk in the eye. If he had never played a game after that, I would say, okay. And obviously, there's been numerous doctors who've looked at this and they say that his vision is encumbered or compromised. So he cannot play anymore. He played 3 games in the playoffs. So how in the hell is his vision all of a sudden good enough to play in the playoffs, but all of a sudden it's not good enough to continue his career?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen this kind of maneuver before. We shouldn't make light of Johnny Boychuk having to retire, though, because he was a real good player. Mm-hmm. Islander fans loved him. They want him in like the Islanders Hall of Fame. I don't disagree. I mean, he's been a hell of a player for them and the Bruins. I mean, he was a really good player in this league, and you never want to see it go like this. But, yes, will this magically create cap space for Matt Barzal? Sure.
Yeah, and again, this is the same situation that happened with the Leafs and Stefan Robida, where they signed him to a 3-year contract. He played year 1. He had broken his leg twice in the same season with Anaheim, but the Leafs wanted him badly enough. They wanted his stabilizing presence on the blue line that they gave him a 3-year deal, probably realizing that they could get out of it with what they ended up doing. But I believe he only played the 1 year, and then he couldn't pass the physical. And essentially, they were able to put him on LTI because
But that happened with Lupul too. Didn't they do it with 2 players?
With Lupul, yeah, with Lupul, and this is the most.
Lupul was saying at first.
This is the most hilarious thing. Because I was at the opening of training camp that particular day. We interviewed some of the players. Nazem Kadri, who has never been short on his mouth and talking out of turn, said, "Yeah, I saw Joffrey, and Joffrey looks great, and he's ready to come back and have a great season." And then 20 minutes later, Lou Lamoriello said he didn't pass the physical and he will not be part of the team. And then if people were
out or something, I could still play or put on Facebook.
On Instagram, he was like,
I know we got to delete it.
And then he pulled it. And then he pulled it down when I'm sure Lou called him and said, "Excuse me." Yeah. Honestly, this is the position Boychuk is in. He's going to get his money either way.
Correct.
So he's getting the cap hits $6 million this year, next year. He's going to get, and the real money is $8 million, $4 million this year, $4 million next year. If he goes into LTIR and doesn't retire, doesn't submit his retirement players, the Islanders clear the $6 million in cap space, and he gets all $8 million of his money. So he's 36. He's slowing down. I'm sure, they said I have no proof to say, well, he's faking this or whatever, or they fixed this. Obviously, right. I can't say that definitively. It's just really convenient that they're short and they have Barzal sitting there as a restricted free agent. And now all of a sudden, lo and behold, $6 million in money opens up. So now it should be fairly easy for them to get Barzal signed on an extension, whether it's a bridge deal or a lengthy deal. Now they have almost $10 million in cap space. So I think it's probably a foregone conclusion that they will eventually get Barzal signed.
Yeah, it's a foregone conclusion. It will happen now. And, hey, this is one of those things that, just happens in this league, and we all know.
And somebody brought it up in the chat. Brian Berard came back. Brian Berard played, I think, with Boston. He played with the Rangers. And with the Rangers. I think it was the Rangers. It was the Rangers. I thought he played with
It was the Rangers, I think, with just the comeback, actually. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe I'm confusing him with Brian Leach because Leach came back, played a year in Boston after he played there. And he was legally blind in one eye.
Yep.
But still played.
And played okay. Now, he was. Mark got a lot of lost vision.
Now he was early in his career. He was still under the age of 30, and he could still skate. So, right. Boychuk, it might be the fact that he is slower. He slowed down, and his vision is impaired slightly, that he can't continue. Like I said, I just think it's convenient that all of a sudden the doors open and part, and it's sunshine and rainbows and lollipops for Lou Lamoriello.
And this is why you're not going to see, any more changes in the cap where you could have another buyout, because lo and behold.
Yeah. Okay, if you want to go along with this, because Emily Kaplan wrote a really good piece for ESPN on what she deems the best and worst contracts for each team. Now, by best and worst, it doesn't mean it means term. It means the quality of the player, the age of the player.
Right.
And there are some I'm going through these, and some I really agree with, and some I completely disagree.
Which is like any list, right?
Which is like any list, but we're for crap and giggles,
we're going to do it like everybody else.
Right, exactly. So starting with the Anaheim Ducks, the best value, she says, is John Gibson at $6.4 million through 2026-27. I agree with that because I think he's one of the best goalies in the league.
What's Raquel making? I might disagree.
Raquel, I think, is making in the 4s, but let me pull it up. Raquel is making $378 for 2 more years.
Ooh, I'm going Raquel, but I think Gibson would be second. That's a bargain for Raquel, for a guy who could score anywhere from 15 to 25 goals.
Yeah, personally, I think just as good as Hampus Lindholm at 5.2 for 2 more years, because he's a really good defenseman. To me, now, I don't get this. She has Cam Fowler at $6.5 million for 6 more years as the worst value. I think Cam Fowler is an excellent defenseman, and what is he, 28?
Yeah.
So it goes to his mid-30s, but he hasn't dropped off on a team that has the boat anchor of a David Backes contract at $4.5 million for next year, or Kessler, although you could hide Kessler on LTIR if he can't make it. If he wants to come back and he's healthy, then again, it's an albatross.
Yeah, so, but what else is left on the Ducks? Like, I'm going to have to look now and see what other contracts like are beyond 1 year that you look at and you say, they've cleared out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
going to tell you what. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. The Adam Henrique contract is worse.
Okay.
At 5.8 until 2023-24. I'm going to say I already hate that contract.
Okay. Okay, so Arizona, I think this is pretty much agreed upon. Jacob Chikrin at $4.6 million for another 4 seasons is pretty good value. Yeah, I mean that's a really good contract. You could say the worst one is Oliver Ekman-Larsson, not because he's not good, but because it was an 8-year deal, and it's all that term on a player who's getting close to the age where defensemen start to slip. Now that's not who she said. That's who I'm saying.
Okay, so who did she say?
She said Kessel, and Kessel.
Yeah, I'm going to go Kessel though. I get what you're saying, but I'm going to go Kessel.
Right. The Boston Bruins, obviously Pasternak's deal is 6.6 for 3 more seasons for a guy who tied for the Rocket Richard. It was a good deal from the very minute that it was signed. I disagree here on the worst. She has the worst as David Krejci. It's only 1 more year.
1 year, I can't.
So, that's not bad. And he was, he produced last year. Now he's had a history of
injury. Produces to some degree.
Right.
Especially in the playoffs, if you get with them.
Yeah, this is a team that doesn't have many bad contracts. They're noted for that. I would honestly, and not based on him not being an effective player, but I think the Charlie Coyle deal is the worst one. It's 6 more years at $5.25 million.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
He's a good player, but he's not
that type of player.
Right, and for that long. So
I'm with you.
Yeah. Buffalo Sabres, and this is funny, not because I disagree with her, but just because the guy's name has so been out there in trade rumors, which is Rasmus Ristolainen. She has Ristolainen as the best value at $5.4 million for another 2 years.
No.
I'd have to. I'm looking at the Sabres now, and if you rule out entry level deals,
yeah, we have to rule that out.
You rule out Rasmus Dahlin. I think probably the best value might be Olofsson at $3 million for 2 more years on a bridge deal after he scored 20 goals as a rookie. Do you want to say Jack Eichel at $10 million because he's one of the best forwards in the league?
No, I don't want to say Eichel. I'm going to go with you on Olofsson, actually.
The worst is
Jeff Skinner.
No doubt. That's Jeff Skinner could be, I'd say, in the top 5 worst contracts in the NHL. And not again,
we have to see what he's going to do this year too.
Right, but again, it's not because of what the player is, because he's a good.
No. They just knew they had to overpay him. They really overpaid him.
Yeah, it's term, and he's I think 27 or 28. So you're talking about him being signed to 36, and if his speed drops off, then that contract is.
Yeah, Michael's right. Manny Malhotra did have a bad eye injury too when he was and played with the Sharks for a long time.
Right, and the Canucks and a few other teams.
Yeah.
Calgary, again, I think the worst one is easy. The best one she has is Elias Lindholm for 4 more years at 4.85.
Yeah, like it's not even close.
Right. The worst is Milan Lucic.
It's not even close.
Not even close. Exactly. Carolina, best deal. Jacob Slavin at 5.3 for 5 more years.
I don't know about that one.
I would say the Pesce deal is just as good because he's making less. I think I'm checking on the term. Pesce is making 4.025 for 4 more years. Yeah, to me, I think it's a no-brainer who the worst one is. It's Jake Gardner.
Yeah, Jake Gardner is the worst. You got your wish on that one.
And that's who she has as well.
But I'm going to tell you, I think the best one is Teuvo Teravainen at 5.4 I mean, you're talking about a guy who gets 60 to 70 points. He had 76 2 years ago, 63 in 68 games this year. That is a bargain for that guy.
Well, Funky says Aho at 8.4 for 4 more years.
Aho is definitely a bargain, but if I'm counting by points, the Teravainen points for 5.4 is cheaper per point than Aho.
Right. Okay.
But it is a great deal, Funky. There's no question about that.
Now, okay, again.
I want to go one step further.
Yeah.
Half the media in the league forgets about Sebastian Aho when awards are up and just talking about great players. That I see all the time.
Right. Now, Chicago, again, the worst is the no-brainer. We could already just say Seabrook. I don't agree with this. She has Duncan.
We knew the Seabrook deal was bad when it was being made.
From the outset, from the absolute outset. But she has Duncan Keith as the best value.
No.
At 37, I mean, he's nowhere close to being the player that he was. I mean, is he effective still? Sure. But
I think he's going by minutes and whatever, but he's not Duncan Keith. He doesn't score on the power play. He's not – I mean, I think he used to get 60 points a year.
Yeah. I think I would say Alex
now 20.
Yeah, probably around there. I would say Alex DeBrincat at 6.4 million, or even Patrick Kane at 10.5.
No, I can't. Someone making 10.5, I can't.
I mean, he's a top 10 scorer in the league.
He 2 years ago had 70, but he was around 79, 76, 56, 60. 50s, 40s. But now he's down to 18 points a year. Like, I can't call that a bargain anymore.
Right.
But hold on, I'm looking at other guys they have. Yeah, it's funny. They are such a weird team with the way that they're structured that you do have to say DeBrincat, because there's not that many guys you could choose from. They don't have anybody long-term anymore.
Yeah, and Kevin
contracts.
Kevin Dunn in the chat says, Kubalik is a nice contract, but Kubalik's had 1 year. So, you don't – I mean, it was nice on an entry-level deal, and if he produces like he did before, then, yeah, it's a pretty good contract. But
you got 3-4 guys making all the money, and then nobody's making money.
But DeBrincat scored 40 goals. So, and if he continues to do that, then – he's a great value. All right, Jan, we welcome Jan to the show. Now we're on Colorado here in terms of best contract and worst contract. This could be the best contract in the league. It's Nathan MacKinnon, as Emily Kaplan said.
Yeah, and he's admitted it too. Like, he knows. Yeah.
Now the worst one, she says Donskoy. Donskoy is at $3.9 million for 3 more years. I would say Brandon Saad at $5 million for a year is just as bad. I could even make a case for Eric Johnson at $6 million for 3 more years.
Yeah, I'm going to go Eric Johnson's the worst one.
I mean, I'll agree on Johnson. I mean, I think he's a great player, but you wonder, given all the depth, did they have to give Gerard a 7-year contract at $5 million per? I mean,
that's a bargain.
Yeah. Well, again, it depends on his usage moving forward, right? But given their depth.
He's one of their top 3 every year.
Okay.
And he's still going to be one of their top 3s. He's going to be one of their top power play guys. He gets a ton of ice.
People be a top power guy. You still got Mckay. You still got Bynum, who can play the power play.
Yeah,
other guys there also.
Yeah.
Taves can play the power play.
And I'll give an honorable mention to Pavel Francouz at $2 million for 2 more years. I mean, if he's a backup, fine. If they think he's a starter, then I think we had a little bit of a sign of that, what happened in the playoffs. So I don't think he's starter material. Columbus, best contract, Seth Jones, of course. Worst contract, Brandon Dubinsky. I think he should be not eligible for this list because he's hurt.
No, but I mean, he is, because he's still getting paid.
Yeah,
I mean, he could end up on LTIR for the year, so I don't know if I call it a bad contract.
Right.
Well, until he does.
Yeah, I think that there are other players on this list. Like I think Riley Nash at $2.75 million is a little.
Yeah, but it's a year, Mike.
Right, and so is Dubinsky.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is Blazubinski also is just literally going to be dollars because you can use the cap space if you needed to.
Right, and the only contract over 2 years in length, or there's two of them. Gavrikov, who just signed,
Right.
and Cam Atkinson. And Cam Atkinson's one of their better players, so I don't think either one of those deals are
Well,
bad.
Nyquist has got 5.5 for 3 years, and he's also going to miss 3/4 of the season.
Right. I mean that's injuries, and you can't really.
Right.
You know.
Well, Lubinski's the same thing. Was injuries was largely driving his.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna stay with Dubinsky until he is fully out. I'll give her the break on that one and say that. By the way, going back to Girard, he had 12 power play assists. He had 21 minutes a game. He's still going to be on the second power play. He's too good to keep on.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying he's 21. So
I know.
at the end of that deal, I get 7 years though because you hate 7 years. I don't blame that. I don't love 7-year deals either, but at least he's 21.
Okay, Dallas, I think is pretty straightforward. John Klingberg, best one, $4.25 million for another 2 years. Worst contract, I disagree with this one because maybe it's because of the length. He has Jamie Bennett 9.5 for 5 more years. I think the Pavelski deal is just as bad, even though it's shorter. Now,
I'm thinking Ben also. I mean, we didn't see a lot of production until the playoffs last year, and his numbers in general have been declining. So,
and but that's the same thing with Pavelski. He had a bad regular season and a great playoff.
I agree. Look, I don't love the Pavelski deal, but Ben's got 3 more years beyond that. He's at $2.5 million more per year.
Yeah, and he'll start the season on the IR. So,
well, I got to tell you, I'm going to go with Bishop being the worst at 4.9 until 2023 because I don't know if he's playing much ever again.
Right, he may end up on LTIR.
He may end up on LTIR.
Okay,
and he's like DiPietro. It's going to be horrible for them.
We can just blow through this one because I think it's pretty straightforward.
We'll determine that, Mike.
Detroit Red Wings best, Dylan Larkin at 6.1 for another 3 years. Maybe Mantha would be a better value, but
I think it's Dylan Larkin.
No, I think Larkin.
And worst contract is Franz Nielsen at 5.25.
Oh, that's pretty simple.
I find this one hilarious. Edmonton Oilers. She has Tyson Berry at $3.75 million for 1 year. How you could not pick Draisaitl as the best? I mean,
wait, hold on. I don't know if you could pick Draisaitl. I mean, why would you pick Draisaitl?
Because he's probably worth more than $8.5 million a year right now.
In terms of value, he's
are we on worst or best? I'm sorry.
We're best.
Oh yeah, he is the best. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, McDavid's one of the best players in the league, but he's being paid as the best player. We're talking about.
I'm with you on Draisaitl. I thought we were at work. I think we all know who worst is.
Well,
really, I'm wondering who. Could it be the guy who was traded for Milan Lucic?
That's who she has. I think Chris Russell gives her a run for the
money.
No.
5.7 for 3 more years for a guy who scored like 12 goals in a week and then didn't score again the rest of the year, essentially.
Okay, just give me a quick thumbs up on this one. Florida, best, Barkov, $5.9 million.
One of the best in the league.
Yeah, I agree.
Worst, Sergei Bobrovsky.
No, I can't do that. No.
Really?
What?
I can't because what if he
returns like $10 million a year for 6 more years?
What if he returns to form and wins a Vezina this year? Then what would you say?
Yeah, what if I'm able to fly?
Oh,
what are you going to say, Hornquist?
Hornquist. He's going to say Hornquist. You got to say Hornquist. Then
I'm looking now.
Maybe Strawman at $5.5 million for 2 years.
I don't think there's one as bad.
Sad to say, I'm going to go Ekblad.
Oh,
really?
Wow.
I disagree. He would be a number 1 defenseman on half the teams in the league if he got traded right now.
I like Ekblad, but offensively now he has declined. Offensively, he's good at everything else.
He's not the same player that he was, but he's still
and at 7.5 for 2024.
He's still a good player. Okay,
good player, yeah, but that's a lot of money now for him. All of a sudden,
LA, we have a lot of them. Put on that bad side.
Right, but and again, she has as the best Sean Walker, $2.65 million for 4 years. I don't know about that.
He's not where we're at. We're picking Sean Walker.
Who would you pick as the best then? That's the problem.
Yeah, Cal Peterson,
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
Because
Okay.
it's not
an ELC though. It's kind of hard.
No,
to
it's not an ELC.
It's kind of like an ELC.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's in essence an ELC.
Right, but it's not. So
in parlance of an ELC, it's not. But in actuality, it's an ELC.
See, now you're calling a crossover an SUV, and it's not.
You're calling it semantics here, and you know it, Russ.
Oh my God!
The worst contract. Let's just go through the whole list.
Now you're calling a moped a motorcycle.
Right.
Okay. Worst contract. Okay. Again, there are a lot here. She says Drew Doughty.
I disagree.
I actually kind of agree with that to an extent. 11 million. Wait, you just got bad at Ekblad, who's making $7 million for 5 more years, when you got Doughty at $11 million?
Yes, because Doughty is still scoring points on a crap team.
Russ, I'm sorry, you're wrong.
How many more points did Doughty have than Ekblad last year?
I don't know. I have to go look. Give me 2 seconds. I'll tell you.
Yeah, you do
that.
I'll say that. I mean, I will grant you, Doughty is. I think he's 30 now. He's got 7 more years. So you're talking about him playing to 37. He's obviously going to.
I'm going to give you best contract. Alex Iafallo.
Okay.
Doughty scored 35 points last year. 14 on the power play. He was a minus 16.
Yeah, I mean, on an awful team. Like, he normally gets 70 points.
And Ekblad had 41 points and was a plus 12.
Right, on a better team. I think.
Wait, hold on. There's a 4-point spread between the two of them.
Right, but he's not on a better team?
Yeah, Ekblad. Well, Ekblad was a plus on a team that was one of the worst defensive teams in the league.
Okay, that's fair. And he is a really good defenseman. That's a close one. I still wouldn't give it to Doughty because I think when the Kings are good, he'll be back.
There's a 6-year age difference between the two of them right now.
Well, there is a big age difference. That's
what Kaplan is saying is that he in years 5, 6, and 7 when he's 35, 36, and 37.
All right, I'll go Doughty. I'll go Doughty.
I would give an honorable mention to Jeff Carter.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, again, unfortunately, Mike, as we said, there's a lot of them. I mean, you could go with Carter. Brown, I would say probably not. He's probably still overpaid. Look, I love Kopitar, but is he worth $10 million a year for the next 4 years?
But he's worth something to the team. Brown is still doing something.
Yeah. Brown had a decent year last year. Ups and downs, but
the thing is out of Jeff Carter. The
thing is that LA could be successful in the next 3 years in spite of those contracts because they have so many guys coming up on ELCs that the $10 million for Kopitar and the $11 million for Doughty and the $5 million for Jonathan Quick aren't going to hurt them. They're going to have all these guys making $925 for the next 3 years. Yeah.
By the way, credit to the chat room for still coming up with eye injuries this late into the show.
Yeah. Minnesota, Kevin Fiala, $3 million for next year.
That's best contract, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Worst contract, former New York Ranger Matt Zuccarello, Asen.
No disagreement there.
Yeah, that's true. They overpaid for him.
Yep.
I don't know how
6 and 36 is a gross overpayment.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can't say that one of Parise or Suter is. I think probably Parise because Suter is still effective.
Parise had a good year last year, though.
Logs a ton of minutes.
I know. It's just
Parise had a decent year last year.
He did. Zuccarello, even though I think he will have a bounce back year, it's a lot for him. It is.
Montreal, best contract, Philip Deneau, $3.08 million for next year.
He's a valuable player.
Yeah, he's going to get a lot more in free agency, probably.
Yeah.
Worst contract, Carey Price, $10.5 million for another 6 years.
I don't want to say it, but it is true.
Hold on. My view on that one, I honestly have to go with Josh Anderson now. You have no idea what is the real Josh Anderson. There was a guy who was hurt last year. If he's the guy from 2 years ago, they got a steal of a contract. If he's not, you have a guy for 7 years at $5.5 million.
Right. The only thing is, I think you can get 3 more good years out of Price. I don't know if we're getting 6.
Right.
We'll see. Depends on the defense around them also, which is a lot better.
I honestly think I honestly think that they're laden with bad contracts because, okay, Price is a great goalie, but it's the length of deal. Anderson with the injury history and the length of the contract, that's a consideration. Brendan Gallagher, they gave 6 years at $6.5 million. He's a really good player and he's a pain in the ass, but with the abuse and the wear and tear that he takes, how good do you think he's going to be in years 4, 5, and 6? That's where I'm concerned. Honestly, I think the best option, if it's not Price, and then Ross, you're probably going to explode at me, is Jonathan Drouin. He's not worth $5.5 million.
I think you could find worse ones on this team, though. I think he could be the worst on some other team.
Yeah. Can you say Shea Weber, even though Shea Weber's great still?
I mean, here's the problem with Price. Is he going to be Roberto Luongo and be pretty much good right up until he's 40? That's the question for $10 million. Even Luongo wasn't making $10 million at the end.
True. We're going to save the second part of this list because I don't want to do a show for like an hour and 20 minutes here, but we'll take some questions in the chat. But Jan, just to get your thoughts on what we talked about earlier, Boychuk is now going to now they didn't use the word retire because then he would not be able to collect his money on LTIR, but I just think it's very convenient that all of a sudden a guy who played 3 games in the playoffs after supposedly having the eye injury that ended his career is now going to not play any longer. And it's just as they need to spend money on Matt Barzal's contract.
So there's a couple of things. So first of all, look, when we saw the injury was scary as heck, right? We thank God, it just literally avoided the eye itself when the upper part of the eyelid or clearly what we're talking about will be a moot point, unfortunately, because he'd be dealing with a much worse situation, right? It is feasible that he did suffer a setback in terms of by playing where he recognized that he just wasn't the same player and his vision to a certain extent was impacted. And we hope that's not the case. But yeah, I mean, part of it talked about, and I have Ranger fans who basically the same comment I ever seen from all of them was how convenient, based upon this coming out when they still need to they want to sign Andy Green supposedly. They want to sign Corey Snyder. They still haven't done it officially. They also want to sign Matt Martin. So if they do ink the 3 of them and then Barzal, it likely takes up the majority of the $10 million or so in cap room that they have right now. But this does give them a in, quote unquote, to re-sign Barzal and have the cap room associated with doing it. My hope is, and I'm not demeaning the league or the team, is somebody from the NHL better have done their due diligence and verified the accuracy of this information. Not casting aspersions, but as we say, there's smoke and fire that it doesn't look kosher, and I don't use that term. It looks like it's a little bit that it could be a little shady given it has to be done. Not saying he's not injured, and not saying that's not the case. But for purpose of the league and to make sure you have the right oversight and governance associated with it, the league should most certainly do their due diligence if they haven't already. And they should be coming out with a statement that if they've done this kind of review and they're comfortable with the decision that's been reached by the doctors associated with this.
Well,
that will be rolled out.
I'm sure, Russ, that a number of general managers, in spite of the fact that Lou Lamoriello is respected greatly, that a number of general managers will probably contact the league and say,
you think they call the anonymous hotline on that one?
They'll say this is bullshit.
The tip hotline.
They'll call we from an unspecified general manager. We have
a tip line that goes right to Bettman like a red phone.
Yes,
it's the bat phone.
Yeah,
wings the background.
He borrowed it from Commissioner Gordon. So okay. Michael asks, not me. Michael asks, who wins the Rocket Richard Trophy on this year's shortened season?
I'm going to go because he's in a contract year. And he is his own agent, Alex Ovechkin.
Ooh, okay. Which is not a bad. He almost always wins it. Well, I think you have to rule Pasternak out because he's going to be out for the beginning part of the season. Like I said, I when we had Kevin Allen and I were making predictions, I said Austin. I think Austin Matthews will. He had 47 last year, where Ovechkin had 48. So I think there's a chance. Jan,
say that again. I'm sorry.
Rocket Richard Trophy winner.
I mean, it's kind of hard to. I'm going to go the wild card here. I'm going to go with a guy who's been demeaned a lot lately, who I think has a lot to prove. I'm going to go with Patrick Laine.
Okay.
Because I look, there's been so much chatter about him.
Contract year.
Right. He definitely look. I think he's got. First of all, he wants a long-term deal. He's on a mission to prove the fact that he's worthy of a long-term deal. He's either going to play with Scheifele or Stastny, so it gives him a really good center.
Yeah.
And he's a guy we know has been able to score in the past. So I'm going to take a flyer and go with Laine this year. But look, Richard can reach it. One of the things we probably should talk about is the impact associated if there's a short season, especially same with last year, on guys like Ovechkin pursuing numbers and records and the impact they're in, because that's something that's been focused on a bit, but it is something that's a material issue because, Ovechkin's talked about going back overseas. These delays may also impact him where he goes, you know what? I'm far enough away now from breaking Gretzky's record that I may have to play another full season to do so, whether or not he's going to want to do so here in the U.S. or back in Russia.
At most, he probably is going to score 30. The Rocket Richard Trophy winner is probably going to score 30 to 35. And if it's a 48-game season, if it's a 60-game season, they probably get to 40, 45 or something like that. So
there's a good question here from Randy. You want to pop it up?
Okay, I will, but I had this one first.
Sure.
You already answered this one on Friday.
Travis Green.
Jan and I will have to answer it here. Jan, what do you think?
I think if they get off to a bad start, then I would go with Travis Green. I don't think. I mean, again, there's been
one. Hold on. You get one. Choose one.
Okay, boss. I'll go with Travis Green then. Also,
okay.
I'm going to go with
you why I thought Travis Green, but you couldn't let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you can finish. As long as you chose.
There's high expectations, even with Markstrom leaving for Vancouver this year.
Right.
The slow start could expedite it, right? I think that's kind of the driver, is the kind of start that they get off to, especially if they don't play with the manner that they think that we think is. I mean, a lot of it depends on if we have a Canadian division also and where they stand in the division. So there's a lot of factors, but yeah, I would say that Greed ends up potentially.
I would say if they weren't rebuilding Jeremy Colleton, since they have Delia and Subban in goal, if they fire him, it's an injustice because their goaltending is probably AHL or very low NHL caliber. I'll surprise people. I'll say Ralph Kruger. I think that the Sabres, if they play badly, they bring in and spend $8 million of Terry Pagula's money to bring in Taylor Hall. And if they fail, if they're not good, then I think Kruger gets axed.
Looks like what happened with New Jersey last year, right? When Hall got off to the bad start, they slumped and ended up firing the coach.
Yeah,
right.
Wishing for Jeff Blashill, but we know he's going to get through the season. Now he might not make it to next season after that. I would say might be the drawing line.
Is this the question for Randy?
Yeah. So Parker Mckay is a guy who I did see in Duluth. He played I just looked it up because I knew he played in the AHL last year. He played 28 games in the A. He's a good skater. He can play the power play if you need him to, but he is a very good puck-moving, puck-transporting defenseman, and he's playing in the Austrian League and doing well there. So he's going to come in hot. I'm fine with him if they do that. I think that's a smart move.
Okay. All right, guys. Good show. We wish everybody in the U.S. a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. It's funny that we usually have the 5K run where everybody dresses up in holiday costumes. It's called the Turkey Trot. It's a Buffalo tradition, and they are doing it, but they're only doing it with they picked 125 people's names out of a hat. And a lot of people would line up around the street and cheer everybody on. They're not allowing that, so it's going to be a virtual parade, a virtual turkey trot with only 125 people.
People just run from the police in Buffalo. I wasn't sure.
Only in certain areas, Russ. Yeah, only if they're stealing turkeys from Wegmans.
Wegmans is on the list now. I would no longer want to shop there. I haven't shopped there in a while, but now that there's a quote out there on Twitter that they don't care about their customers, I no longer care about them. They basically are letting customers not wear masks, and I don't even think our employees wear masks there when you're there.
I've never seen anybody in Wegmans not wearing a mask. In Buffalo, they have.
This is just in Cayuga County for some.
In Buffalo, there's a security guard at the entrance that if you don't have a mask, he points to you to leave and get a mask.
And they have in Cayuga County that it's a problem.
And they provide disinfectant wipes for the carts. They have.
So they're doing it the right way there, but still, it's a part of Wegmans, and if they're getting away with it, I don't like it.
Yeah. All right. For Jan Levine, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you for watching, and remember, without the